Welcome to Laurie's Little Studio. I'm Laurie, and today I will be working on this McCall's pattern. It's M8392, and I'm going to be working on View C and View D using pink batiste. This is going to be for my daughter Candice, so I will be making it in the medium size range. This pattern goes size 8 to size 26. Usually when you have a pattern like this that includes this huge garment, and let's face it, those are long pieces of fabric, you will have a lot of pattern. So I thought what I would do is locate these smaller pieces. Instead of having you watch me cut this out, I hope that they've made it make sense. I've often wondered why pattern companies don't, but these are the line drawings. So there's this robe with fringe, this, I guess that's a gown. I think they call it a dress. Do they call it? Yes, they call it a dress with fringe. And then this little camisole, these little shorts, and these pants. Interesting to me is that they show the pants as sort of a straight leg option here, but on the front of the pattern they look very fitted at the top on the thigh and then belled at the bottom. I'm kind of curious. I want to see what that looks like when you're making it. Okay, they don't really show it. They're just showing you how to attach the side seams and the crotch area, and then you're basically left to hem however you wish to hem. Okay, so I think you probably can tell that View C and View D have a ruffle, and that is accomplished by, it's a self ruffle. So you'll be making it out of this, or I will be making it out of this fabric, and then you attach it to the lower edges of those two pieces. So that's probably a large part of the pattern. I might measure and just cut that size. Let's see. $15 is ruffle. Yes. And 12 is ruffle. So if there's a pattern piece, I'm sure they're cut on straight grain. So here's part of piece 12, and as you can see, it's basically just a rectangle. It looks like it's 4 and almost a quarter. So my guess is I could measure the length, measure the width, and just cut out that rather than using a pattern piece. The only problem with that is the markings on the pattern piece are then not available. So that's one reason why I do go ahead and cut it out. I need to change the blade on my rotary cutter. It's starting to skip, and there's just nothing quite as irritating. I don't think the box fit, no. Okay. So that means I'll have to locate those blades. Found them. There we go. I need to find a place to either tape them up or put them in something before I put them in the trash can. I certainly don't want someone to get cut. And then there's going to be lint that you have to clean out. And take the time to do it. It'll really make a difference. There we go. This will definitely be an improvement from the last project I was working on where it was skipping and skipping and skipping, and then you have to go back and cut the little places where it hasn't worked. So as old as this particular rotary cutter is, I find myself coming back to it. I keep thinking, well, I think I want a little one, which I do use my little teeny one. But then I have this one. I hardly ever use it. I have this one which uses the same size blade. I hardly ever use it. It doesn't have that little button on the side. It's like a little thumb button that allows the blade to be exposed. And then if you turn it over, this goes back down in, and you can't open it until you thumb that down again. This one is this way, and it's not that difficult. I'm used to this one. And this one, of course, is the same as this. This one doesn't have a blade in it, but the way it works is you push this, you cut, and then you push this button on the side. It's not a bad design. It's just not this design. And I'm sure there are much better rotary cutters out there. Much, much better. But I've had this one since the dawn of time, and that means since I started using a rotary cutter. And I really do like it. Would you look at that? Ah! New blades. I didn't even know I had. Okay. So this one is a little teeny one that I bought on Amazon because I needed it to get into some small areas that I can't remember what fabric or what pattern I was working on. It was pre-moving into this house, which has been September, October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. 10 months. Alright, so start off, we are going to be cutting out for top C. That's the view that we're doing right here. We need pieces 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So the way I do a pattern is I don't cut out the pieces I don't need. I don't want to be scrambling around if I need to find a piece while I'm sewing it. I don't want to be looking through 8 million pattern pieces, so that's why I'm just going to cut out 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and then for the shorts, you need to cut out pieces 13, 14, and 15. Those are also used for the pants, so I'm going to see if there's a way that I can just fold up to the cut line on the pants and not cut them out. But if you do have to cut them out, save the lower portion of the legs and you can just tape them back on and use them the next time you decide. Let's say you're making the shorts this time, and the next time you want to make the pants. Or if you're making the pants and the shorts, cut the pants out first and then cut out the shorts. I wanted to show you something in case you're not familiar with patterns and how they work. When you have a multi-sized pattern like this one is, occasionally, not always, but occasionally, you will run into a pattern that has two of the same piece. And you might think, why do they have... This one is for sizes 8, 12, and 16. And it is still multi-sized. You can see where they've got lines for size 8, lines for 12, and lines for 16. This one is for sizes 10 and 14, And so they've got lines for size 10 and lines for size 14. The way the lines are noted will be the same as it is for all the other pattern pieces. For example, size 14 is a solid line, 10 is a dashed line, 8 is this little itty bitty line, 12 is slightly long but not as long as 10, and 16 is a solid line. Cut that out because it's not true. Yeah. Cut that whole thing out because it is not true. Okay, so just say nothing about that. So you'll just cut out whichever piece you're going to be using for this particular garment. I also want to show you, if you're unfamiliar with patterns, that sometimes, not always, and it depends on whether it's one of the big four, Simplicity, Butterick, McCall's, Vogue, one of those, or another pattern like Berta, sometimes we'll put information that pertains to the pattern on the pattern piece paper rather than on the instruction paper. It will include often what sewing terms they're using, markings that they're using. I noticed this one's got instructions for how to either lengthen or shorten, what that looks like on the pattern piece, what you need to do, whether you cut it. It says to lengthen, slash between the adjustment lines, spread the amount you need it, keeping the edges parallel, and to shorten it, you will crease along the adjustment line, make a fold half the amount needed, and then how to transfer all your markings, where to mark the buttons, how to do the buttonhole marking, what these symbols mean right here, that kind of thing, and then what certain things mean. They seem to be very random to me, and this one has got a big splotch right here that didn't print. So if you were dependent upon this, well, I often will save this because it's pattern paper, and if I cut a pattern and I needed to cut it differently, then I can trace it and cut it out on this. So I will put this back in the envelope with this pattern or another pattern. I can use this pattern paper on any of my other patterns. Okay, so I've gotten, I think, 4 pieces cut out, and I'll continue to cut. For you and me, it might make sense to print all of the pattern pieces needed for C and D on one of these huge sheets of paper, but the pattern companies don't do it that way. I don't know why. I know there has to be a reason, but I don't know what it is. But the shoulder strap, piece 9, was on this huge piece of paper right there, and I don't need this for any of the other pieces. So if you're cutting out a pattern and you think you might be missing a piece or two, make sure you check all of the pattern the folded up pattern pieces in your pattern. Alright, we're going to try it with this one pant leg. So if it were me doing it, I would just fold it up. Usually the hem is smaller, so that's the case here, which answers the question, are they bell bottoms? I don't think they are. So I'm going to fold this up. To the cut line, and that looks like that will work just fine, so I don't have to cut off the leg portion of the shorts. So we'll do that to the other side. I'm going to cut out the ruffles and then we'll cut out the fabric. For piece 8, which is the top view C that I'm making, it is also for view B, which is the dress. So I will be cutting for the top right here, but I'm going to fold it like I did the pants if it's possible. I don't think it'll alter the shape. I'll just have to carefully fold it up. So it starts out with this line down here being a solid line. So you cut there, and then you have to find the proper line for the size that you are cutting out. I think I'm going to pin these out of my way. Okay, no, I can't get it to lay flat. So I will trim it off, but save this piece so I can tape it back should I ever decide that what I would like to do is make that dress. Okay, so also you put this facing down. It really doesn't matter on this batiste, so I could flip it the other way, but you want this mark on the pattern where it says to be on the fold of your fabric. So it shows it upside down. This is pattern facing upside down. This is pattern right side up. I think you can see that. This has got little dots all in it. So both of the top pieces are facing upside down, and then the shoulder piece, the shoulder strap, is right side up. Piece 12 is over there. Okay. All right, so you have one facing piece, number 11, which will face upside down, and one facing piece, number 10, which will face right side up. I don't know if you can see that. This one is upside down, this one is right side up. Okay, now I am marking the fabric with my erasable ink. You can use air erase, which I like to use, but you have to be quick because it will be gone within a matter of hours, at least in my experience. So I'm just using a friction ink pen, and I've marked both sides of the front on both sides. So we've got darts here and we've got darts here, and these are our registration marks here, and then on the bottom for where we're going to attach the ruffle. So that's the front piece. And you can also, if you're afraid you'll forget which is which, you can put an F somewhere on there for front. Okay, these are the straps right here. And there's not a left or right, so we're good with that. And I think what I will do, I need to get some interfacing, which is on the other side of the room. I think that the pattern calls for that. See, yeah, it does. Okay. So I'll need to get some small pieces of interfacing for these two pieces. And then I can start sewing, and we begin right here. Okay guys, so it's the next day and we are going to start sewing. And our very first step is to stitch the darts in the front. So I want to mark those before we stitch them. And I'm just using this for the edge. I'm not measuring anything. And I'm just matching up these two dots right here. The front, and then you find the other dot and you poke through if my fabric were too thick and I couldn't see through it. And like I said, I just used the edge of this ruler and pin. Okay, so this is the neck edge right here. And when you get these stitched, you're supposed to press them so that they are facing down. I do not want to use the option to have the machine cut my thread because I want to tie this in a knot. So I lift my presser foot, lift my needle, and then just gently pull so that I have enough thread that I can tie this at that point in a knot. So I just split my threads. I'm not pulling it really tight. And then just cut. And that's the first start right there. Alright, I'm going to go press this, and when I come back we're going to attach the back to this fabric. Okay, so our next step is to pin the back and the front together at the sides and then stitch. So that would of course be right sides together. And of course, if you would prefer, you could clip this together. Because I'm not doing a French seam, I'm going to clip all my seams with my pinking shears. Alright, this is the back. This is the front. So our next step is, with right sides together, fold the shoulder strap in half lengthwise, stitch, and then trim. Turn it out and baste the raw edges together. Okay. So this is the shoulder strap. Now it doesn't say this, but based on the picture, this is at an angle here, so rather than pressing it with that seam on the back side, I believe they have pressed it with that seam on the side. We'll need to go press this one, and I'll make the other one. And then we're going to baste these raw edges together. Okay, so because I used heat erase on these straps, I need to mark piece 9 again where those dots are. So to baste, I need to increase my stitch length to 4.5. Okay, make sure I drop it back down to 2.5. And pin the straight end of the shoulder strap to the upper edge of the front, matching the symbols. And they're showing it going this way. See, the high end is facing the outside. I'm talking about this end right here. You're going to be putting a facing on, and the facing will cover up these raw edges, and you'll be stitching again, so there is a reason. Alright, so my next step is to apply the interfacing to the two facing pieces, and then stitch the front facing to the back facing at the sides. So we'll come back when I've got the interfacing attached, and I'll show you what that looks like. Alright, I had to remark. So this is the back facing and this is the front facing. And with right sides together, we are to stitch along these side edges. Okay, so with this camisole, or top, or whatever we want to call it, with the top turned right sides out and the facing inside out, we will attach. This needs to be facing up, like so. So the armhole edges will be scooping down instead of up, like that. So just turn it that way. Make sure you've got the front aligned with the front and the back aligned with the back. Before you stitch across the back, and I haven't stitched any of it yet, you need to mark where the straps are going to come over and then slip down inside between the facing and the actual back of your garment. Okey-doke. And you may have noticed that I went around it twice. I wanted it to be a roll and whip. And it's definitely not George. George is my Bernina, who is out of commission right now. That machine makes the most beautiful, gorgeous roll and whip of any machine. So when I get George back, he'll be mainly consigned to that again for me. But anyway, so this bottom is finished. Now when you attach the facing to the top, there are a couple of things that we need to discuss. The first one is your top will be right sides out. So just look at your seam. If your fabric is like mine and you can't tell right from wrong, this is right sides, the seam is finished. So this will be wrong side. And you want to put it on so that the swoopy down here is facing down this direction. That would not be the right way. So you want to flip this way, wrong side out, and look for your mark that says BF. That's my cue that this is the back facing, and this is the front of the top. So we're going to attach it like this. So make sure your straps are not twisted when you're clipping or pinning your facing down. And slip between the facing and the top. So here they are, and they will slip down in between. So you've got to not stitch between the markings on your back where that happens. Okay, I'm going to trim this seam line down. I've made sure I've got my pieces under, so I'm not going to cut through. Okay, we're going to go to the ironing board, press this down, and I think I'm just going to have to guess on the strap length. I know that at one time she sent me that information. Some things are worth looking for, and some things it would just take me 100 years to find it. So I asked her again, and I will get that measurement, and then hopefully, and then we'll get these set into place after I get this pressed down. Since we don't have this measurement yet, I really can't do the understitching and finish this part off. So I think I will go ahead and make the ruffle. It is your basic ruffle, so we will be stitching a little mark there. So these are the side seams right here, and it will be all gathered in to fit around the whole bottom of the top. So I think I can get away with not having those markings. I'm going to start at a side seam. Okay, there we go. We're going to pull either the needle thread or the bobbin thread, but we're not going to pull both. Okay, so we've got it somewhat gathered up, and we'll have to arrange the gathers in such a way that they are even. All right, well, I got the back pinned down, and it is almost 2:30, and everybody knows what time that is. Call my sister time. We'll see how we do. This is a Friday. It's Friday the 28th of June. I like the way it's coming together. It might seem weird to do out of sequence steps, but, and sometimes you cannot do out of sequence sewing, but the ruffle around the bottom of this top is not going to affect the length of the straps. It's the same size. It's completely independent of the straps. So I still have to do the understitching and then attach the straps up here at the top. But since I was waiting on that length from Candice, I decided to go ahead and do the ruffle, and I'm just going to go ahead and attach it so I'm not working with a garment that is basically a porcupine. So I'm going to start at a side seam, move my gathering threads out of the way, off to the right like so, make sure I've got them all. And I've got my machine in needle down. Now, you only have to do this understitching as far as you're able to. You won't be able to get into this corner right here. So you just start where you can get. Make sure your machine is back in a straight stitch. Making sure that your straps are not twisted. Going to lay them out in front so it'll be the front will be face down. All right. Not twisted. And we're going to bring them over. And I'm going to measure that 12.5 inches. And mark it with my erasable ink pen. I don't know if you can see it, but it's measuring 13 1/4, I think. So I'm going to mark it at 12.5 and mark this one at 12.5. All right, and then we bring them over and they go right inside those little openings that we left. And you can reach up underneath the facing and pull it. So we've got our strap inserted into the opening that we left, right up to the line that's marking our 12.5 inches. Right there. I'm going to pop it back in a little bit more. And then we're going to open out the facing and stitch across where you've stitched before. And there you have it. Now I'm going to pull these basting I don't know why I even did this. It wasn't necessary. And today is already an aggravating thread day. Okay, so there is strap number 1. Very good. Okay, I have some final thoughts about the pattern. I love the way it turned out in this batiste. However, I believe that view C is the top, view C. It doesn't say to use knit. It does say that you can use stable knits in the suggested fabrics. I did not notice that. I don't think it would have made any difference. However, Candice and I have discussed it. She's not tried this on, and I don't know that the top will be that easy to put on. It could be. I could just be looking at it and not seeing that it would go on easy. But I'm going to get some jersey knit. If you have it, have fun making it. And thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.